Let's take you to Midrand now and ask you this question. Have we done enough to transform our judiciary? This is the exact question President Cyril Ramaphosa posed at the Constitution Conference in Midrand. It's intended to reflect on the state of our democracy. The President says the Constitution shouldn't just be a legal document, but should reflect on governance, crack the whip on corruption, and address critical issues facing South Africans. Let's get you more now, with our senior reporter, Silindelo Masikane, who is at the Gallagher Estate in Midrand. So, Slee, we heard from the President opening the conference today with his keynote address. What did he have to say exactly?
In essence, he's asking on delegates of this conference to really reflect upon the past 25 years, as well as forge a pathway with actionable resolutions in terms of what comes out of the next 3 days on how we can advance and better implement the Constitution. I mean, it is arguably one of the best in the world, but I think one of the key focuses is on its implementation and whether it is actually doing what it was intended for. But to just give us some more in terms of what they're expecting in terms of this conference, I am joined by Boang Jones of Boang Jones Attorneys, but of course a very familiar face when it comes to a Chapter 9 institution, the Human Rights Commission. You spent quite a number of years there. You've seen some of the socioeconomic challenges facing ordinary South Africans with the number of complaints coming into the Commission. In your opinion, has the Constitution actually fulfilled what it was intended for, or are we still lacking in some ways?
Well, there has been progress, but we have not attained social and economic justice for the vast majority of South Africans. So much more still needs to be done to ensure that the Constitution resonates with ordinary South Africans, that they enjoy their human rights, and that they are able to claim and exercise their rights.
Maybe then talk to me about what are some of the actionable resolutions this conference can take to advance the Constitution.
We really need to generate new and innovative solutions regarding the challenge of economic injustice in our country. If it's not addressed, we'll continue to have challenges. We also need to promote the supremacy of the Constitution and amplify awareness on the Constitution in all our communities. Not many South Africans are familiar with the Constitution, and it is important that the Department of Justice and all departments in the justice cluster work in tandem to promote the Constitution, to promote the rule of law, and to ensure that those who are required to fulfill, respect the Constitution, that is organs of state, do their part in advancing the realization of socio-economic rights, which is a challenge in the country.
Let's talk about accountability. The President touching on the judiciary, touching on the executive, transformation within the judiciary and holding the executive accountable. How then do we better implement the Constitution in terms of those two aspects?
I think we have to see greater synergy between the three spheres of government. We need to see greater synergy between Parliament, the executive, and the judiciary. Some of the laws that we have to take stock of, some of the laws that have been passed over the last 25 years of our democracy. We need to look at the implementability of some of the government programs and policy frameworks. We have good policies on paper, but the implementation has been a challenge. We also need to ensure that we leave no one behind and bring along our citizens in order to address all the triple challenges that we are facing as a country of poverty, unemployment, and of course, corruption is becoming a challenge and something that we need to address because it undermines the enjoyment of human rights. We really need active citizenry, and this was aptly demonstrated on Monday that we need active citizenry. We need social activists who will hold government accountable. We also need to critically appraise the Constitution. How far has the Constitution gone in addressing our challenges as a country? how far has it gone in retracing the imbalances of the past? Because we still see an economy that is in the few hands, an economy that has not really advanced the plight of the poor. And these are some of the issues that I hope will be addressed through this conference.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
All right, that is Mr. Buang Jones of the Buang Jones Attorneys, but also used to speak for the Human Rights Commission for a number of years. Let's just take a listen to what some of the President had to say during his address with regards to his expectations of this conference.
The transformation, for instance, of the judiciary is one of those that we need to ask ourselves. Have we done enough in relation to transforming our judiciary so that it is a judiciary that is fit for purpose for the transformational aspirations that we have? Is there more to be done than to put into effect gender and democratic balance in our judiciary? It's a question we have to ask ourselves. Has the executive done enough to develop our constitutional architecture on matters that it has been charged with? When we established the Ministry of Justice, initially we established it to be called Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Development. The current nomenclature we have is a new one. We need to ask ourselves, has the executive taken steps to get on with the development of our Constitution? As we all know, constitutions are not static documents. They always get amended.
Right, Lee, so before we let you go, just in terms of the program, I saw that there'd be some groupings in terms of people debating and discussing the judiciary and the constitution in our country, and that speakers would include people like Advocate Thulima Donsela.
Certainly so. I'm not quite sure if Asanda will be able to show you, but the conference is, of course, currently underway. The President has actually just left, but one of those panel discussions, those robust debates that are going to be taking place are underway. And in fact, we are on to the first panel discussion. I'm just trying to get to the program so I can just give you perhaps an overview of the kinds of speakers we're expecting today. But the first panel that's already underway does include Silo Hatang from the Nelson Mandela Foundation, as well as the former public protector Thulima Donsela, who are engaging on the issue of whether the Constitution has been implemented effectively. Following that particular panel discussion, we will be having another one after the lunch break that's going to look into transforming and building an independent and resilient judiciary, as well as another panel on the effectiveness of the legislature in advancing constitutional democracy. We're also going to see tomorrow another panel with regards to fighting corruption as a constitutional imperative. Another discussion that will be taking place will be around transforming and growing the economy as a constitutional imperative as well. So just some of the topics, I guess, that are going to be touched on, but we've got a number of delegates from various sectors in society, from government to the legislatures to statutory bodies, as well as civil society, business, as well as young people that I believe will be engaging throughout the next couple of days, Masego.